nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. In your eyes lie the secrets I don't wanna miss.
Hi, this is Trey Passer, and this is my top video response, to the 13th Wolfman. He came up with a great idea. You know, he does his usual top 5 list every once in a while, which I think is a great idea. And the latest video he came up with, I saw earlier today, he said it's called Top 5 Wishful Mashup with Horror, in terms of, I guess, two figures from horror that you like to see in the same movie, okay, like a clash together. And I thought that was a great idea, and I told him I'd do a video response. And I always like when he does his top 5, because I think it's a very creative thing and gets you thinking about movies and stuff. So thanks for that idea, Wolfman. And I have wrote some down here. Had to think about it for a minute, but I have 5, and okay, I'm gonna go not in no particular order. Okay, first of all, the first matchup I like to see, definitely in a horror movie, would be Jason versus Michael Myers. You know, zombie Jason versus, you know, the Shape. You know, I thought that would be a great battle because, like I said, they both wear masks and they don't speak, and you know, they're killing machines basically. And would love to see Michael Myers clash with Jason Voorhees. I think that would just be fantastic. I don't know how exactly you would get them together, but I think since Jason's territory is Crystal Lake and Michael Myers was basically in the suburbs, but I think somehow you could get them together some way and have them clash. Or you could have like Michael Myers being transported to a hospital or something, and he escapes, and just happens to escape somewhere near Camp Crystal Lake. And as he's waking his way through Camp Crystal Lake to get back to Hattonville, he runs into Jason Voorhees, and of course mayhem ensues. So I thought that would be a great matchup. The second matchup I have would be the Devil Rejects. That family, the Firefly family. You know, Captain Spaulding, Otis, and Baby versus the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. Okay, you know, Leatherface and his weird family. I thought that would be a great clash. You could have it like you know, the Devil Rejects. They're traveling, you know, after doing their latest massacre. They're traveling through a small town. Their truck breaks down, and they so happen to, you know, in Texas somewhere, and they just so happen to run into the Texas Chainsaw, you know, Leatherface and his family. And I thought that would be a great battle of psychopaths, you know, of hillbillies versus inbreed cattle. You know, just be a great clash between that great family, this great two families of psychos. That would be just out of this world to see that clash. Okay, so that's my number 2 pick. And my number 3 pick is, I had to think about this one for a little while, and I'm going to go with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, okay, versus meets the Wolfman, put it that way. Okay, you know, there was a lot of great titles, you know, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and all that stuff. You know, it was even, I think, Frankenstein versus Dracula in the 70s. But in this story, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde meets the Wolfman. You could have Lawrence Talbot, you know, like they had it set up in, you know, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. They could have him looking for a cure. You know, he's read about this doctor, Dr. Jekyll, who's doing these experiments, you know, where he's trying to tap into the you know, the dark side of humanity, you know, the dark side of human nature. And he's heard about these experiments, and he goes to Dr. Jekyll, of course, trying to see if Dr. Jekyll can suppress the beast that he has within him, of course. But of course, Mr. Hyde will have none of this. Okay, so in the midst, you can have Dr. Jekyll even come up with a cure for Larynx tablet that would suppress his wolf side. But of course, before he can give it to him, Mr. Hyde rears his ugly head, and of course, to destroy the cure. And of course, on that same night, the full moon rises, and then you have Mr. Hyde versus the Wolfman. So I thought that could be a great premise. Have those two dark characters fight each other. And then the fourth title the fourth clash I would like to see, would be Blade versus the vampires from 30 Days and 30 Nights. I thought that would be great. I love the premise of that movie, 30 Days and 30 Nights. With the vampires being in that isolated, Alaskan town, and you could have Blade sort of hearing of them and tracking them down. He tracks them down to that town, and you could have him, of course, come to the town to kill these vampires. And of course, he has his serum that he suppresses his vampire side, and you could have him sort of lose it halfway through. You could have this serum that he takes that suppresses vampire side be smashed and stuff. So you have this element of whether Blade is gonna turn or try to suppress his vampire side before he kills all the vampires from 30 Days and 30 Nights. I thought it would be a great clash too, because Blade hates vampires and they're vampires, but he's also at the same time, he's in an isolated place and he can't get to the serum. He's trying to suppress that that vampire side of him before he actually turns, before he turns fully and gives into the to the bloodlust. So I think that would be a good clash. And then the last but not least is a giant monster movie. I thought a great title would be King Kong versus the Gargantuans. And now this is what I mean by that. You could have, if you remember the War of the Gargantuas, whether you had the brown Gargantua, which was the peace-loving one, and then I guess the I was going to say green. Wait. There was the brown, which was the peaceful one. Then the darker one, which I can't remember if it was just darker. That I can't remember exactly what the color. I know that the one that didn't eat people was the brown one, and then you had a darker one that it was eating people and stuff and causing all kind of chaos. If you remember at the end of it, they fought and then they went into the water and then vanished. But you could have it be like this. You could start with this movie with the brown, the peaceful Gargantua. He resurfaces on Kong's island, Skull Island, and he meets Kong, and they actually become friends. Big monsters become friends, and then all of a sudden you have the darker Gargantua coming to the island, and he's on the other side of the island, and he starts eating the natives and stuff, and of course King Kong sees him first and is confused slightly because this looks like his friend, of course, and then they start battling on the island, and then of course the brown Gargantua comes along, and of course he doesn't know, what side to take because he's friends with Kong, but then this other Kong is his brother, this other Gargantua is his brother, and then you can just have like a three-way thing, which I think would be great. Okay, so that's my video response to the 13th Wolfman's top 5 wishful mashups for horror. Okay, I hope you like that, 13th Wolfman. I'll leave a link to your channel down below. And again, I love your top 5s, and hopefully people will like my ideas, or maybe not, who knows. Okay, feel free to leave your comments down below. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.